Hey, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers for Monday. Brian Kamenetsky and Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers are right back in the thick of it for a playoff spot. Is LeBron James turning up the heat on the front office? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts, always free, never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you go to see the show and join a really fun and vibrant community of people, almost 10,000 subscribers strong, getting real close to that. Be the person, sound like an NPR telethon, be the person who puts us over 10,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel.
You may or may not receive a tote bag.
May or may not. We could probably, if somebody put together a really cool tote bag design, we could at least consider it, but we'll run that up the flagpole, as they say. LeBron, very busy this weekend in terms of things that he said that were of interest to the Lakers front office and Lakers fans. In part because, Andy, and we'll get to all that, but in part because the Lakers had a great weekend. They won both of their games. They beat Atlanta on Friday and turned around and beat Sacramento on Saturday in a really entertaining game.
In Sacramento.
In Sacramento. Good point. And meanwhile, Andy, basically everyone else lost or lost twice. The Clippers are on a 5-game losing streak. The Suns, 5-game losing streak. The Jazz lost again on Sunday. The Blazers lost again on Sunday. The Warriors, I believe, lost on Saturday. So, like, everyone is falling back in. And now it means the Lakers, after 2 wins, 5 in a row, 6 out of the last 10, are now only a game and a half behind the Clippers for the 6th spot in the Western Conference. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 separated by 2.5 games. It is tight. If you'd have told me, Andy, at the beginning of the season that the Lakers were going to rip off 5 games in a row without Anthony Davis, I don't think I would have been very confident in that. But yet here we are.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Right now, their 5-game winning streak is tied with the Grizzlies for the longest winning streak in the NBA, not in the Western Conference, in the NBA. And you mentioned the game and a half behind the Clippers. We're recording this now as the Clippers are playing the Hawks in what is right now a really tight game. So depending on how that turns out, maybe the standings are affected even more. But like you said, like where they stand right now in 11th, like some of this is just due to like the Lakers having played one more game than the team ahead of them. Like it cannot be overstated just how bunched up everybody is right now. Like we've now reached this place where I'm not saying the Clippers, that the Lakers will or even can catch, say, the Mavericks at the 4 seed and get like a round of home court. I'm just saying it's not nearly as insane a concept as it seemed just 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. Like it's pretty nuts what's happening right now. And the Lakers, you can see as this is happening right now, we can talk some of the details from the win Saturday. Their confidence is growing as a team. And the players around LeBron, like the primary supporting characters, have emerged right now during this period where you don't have Lonnie Walker, you don't have Austin Reeves, you don't have Troy Brown on top of AD's continued absence. There have been 3 or 4 guys who continually have been stepping up in each game.
Well, I think the confidence that you talked about is really critical here. I mean, because like there was decidedly, you could feel almost a tangible lack of belief earlier in the season. You know, when they were going through that 2-10 stretch, you just got the feeling that they just weren't sure as to what was going on here. And like, whether or not they really truly could rely on what they had on this roster to come through. And, you heard LeBron was talking about, the lack of shooting and all of this stuff was kind of relevant to the conversation as they were trying to feel it out. And, I thought, this weekend was interesting in the sense that, they didn't, Saturday particularly was not exactly a defensive battle.
No,
but I think the Lakers recognized that
136, 134 over the Kings.
right. I think the Lakers recognize that, especially somebody, they're it's gonna be hard for them to play defense. They have zero rim protection. I love Thomas Bryant. He was 12 of 14 on Saturday. He had 29 points, 14 rebounds, a steal. It is difficult to find problems with what you're getting from him based on any kind of reasonable expectation. But defensively, he is not a rim protector. He never has been. He likely never will be. I think the Lakers can be satisfied with the idea that he's rebounding far better than he really has over any point in his career. You take that. But there are going to be nights, particularly against a good offensive team like Sacramento, that defense is just not going to be there. And so, can you outscore teams? Well, yes, as it turns out, they got a really efficient night from LeBron, 14 of 28, really efficient. Mentioned Thomas Bryant, but Dennis Schroeder was 8 of 11. Russell Westbrook was 7 of 14. As a group, they shot 61 freaking percent in this game. So they found an offensive formula to trade baskets with Sacramento and figured out a way to hold on at the end. Friday against a really are they just bad, like a bad Atlanta team? Can we call them that?
I think that season where they went to the East, I believe it was the Eastern Conference Finals, that was the outlier because they have been progressively moving backwards since I believe it was 2021. They've been consistently moving backwards since then. I think Trae Young is an entertaining player, but I think he's a hard player to build around. And seems to be kind of a difficult guy to both coach and play with.
Yeah. The Lakers, but I mean, my point in that one is like the Lakers, had some better defensive moments in that one against a very undisciplined Atlanta team. But even then, like this, they're not set up to win defensively. So you hope you can get key stops. And I think what they believe,
which happened, by the way, in the last play for Sacramento. I mean,
yeah, absolutely,
they defended their asses off when they absolutely had to as a group.
The effort is there. I think they feel like they can get a stop when it really matters. Like, and they're not going to, throughout the game. Who knows what happens Monday night in Denver? They could lose. Denver could score. Well, they could do that against a lot of teams. But overall, I feel like they feel like they can defend in a pinch. They sort of bend but don't break. But big time, they feel like they can score against anybody. They feel like they've got the rhythm to push against anybody. LeBron feels like he can get to the basket against anybody. And essentially what you've got, I think, is a setup where
and Russ,
Russ can get to like they feel like they're shooting the ball well enough that they can score. They're getting enough support for LeBron. And it's hard to argue with the formula. They were, 43% from 3-point range against the Kings, again, including 1 of 6 from LeBron. And so LeBron is the guy that's dragging down their 3-point percentage, Andy. But that means if everybody else, if they shoot 43% while he's for 1 of 6, that means the lanes are opening up because people are respecting the shooting and LeBron can score efficiently in other ways.
Over the last 10 games, Dennis Schroeder and Patrick Beverley have both been shooting 47% from behind the arc on like 3 to 4 threes per game. Stu Lance noted during the Sacramento game, and I thought this was a really good observation, Patrick Beverley is no longer shooting anymore as a last resort because earlier in the season, he was going out of his way not to shoot. And beyond the fact that his shot wasn't going down, that was just absolutely handcuffing the offense. That was during the period where we were both saying, like, his minutes need to be dramatically reduced, if not just taken out of the rotation altogether. The last 5 games, Dennis Schroeder has been averaging almost 54% behind the arc on nearly 6 threes per game. And as a team, other than LeBron and Russ, everybody right now over like the last 10 games, the guys who take threes have been making them. And, we've talked about this before with Russ, it is what it is. You just hope that he chooses his spots judiciously. And with LeBron, while obviously it would be better if he was making threes, with everything else LeBron's doing right now, I ain't going to complain. And the floor is supposed to be spaced for him,
right?
Not the other way around.
And I think it's important that he takes 3 or 4 a game, even if they're not going in, because while defenses would prefer that in the same ways that defenses always preferred Kobe take threes, because given the alternative, mid-range, getting to the basket, all that stuff, you're better off with Kobe taking threes, but they still respect the 3 because he's just, it's Kobe. And so you're going to guard LeBron wherever he goes. And, he does get on these heaters where he can hit from 3-point range, and he's overcome the perception that he can't shoot.
But he's also too, LeBron, during this period where his 3-point shot has really fallen over the last month. I think though, during this period where the shot percentages are going down, he's actually choosing his threes better. Mm-hmm. So I think he's actually hurting the team less. He is forcing threes way less than he was earlier in the season.
Well, for a guy who's
bad shots, whether they're going
no
out
question.
Or not.
He's also with this 5-game win streak, with this quick gobbling up of space between them and other teams in the Western Conference, just when things look really bleak, sending out some signals, Andy, that perhaps it might be time for the front office to do something. So we'll get into that next.
Locked On Lakers brought to you by TurboTax. Go to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Meet with an expert who'll do them for you. TurboTax experts can relieve you from the stress of taxes. They file them for you so you can do not taxes, like whatever else but taxes. Your eyes can gaze at things that are not taxes. You can taste a wonderful home-cooked meal and not taxes. You can get in the car and ride not taxes into the sunset.
You can listen to podcasts, Sandy. The podcasts aren't taxes.
Nope. With the TurboTax 100% expert guarantee, an expert will do your taxes from start to finish so you can relax. It feels good to be done with your taxes, doesn't it? Come to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Visit TurboTax.com to learn more. Intuit TurboTax, full service products only. A video meeting while an expert does your taxes is required. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Okay, so I have one of the things that both of us have talked about frequently when it comes to LeBron and how happy he is, how unhappy is, that many of the things on his decision tree are not related to the Lakers specifically. They are related to the city of Los Angeles. His family likes it here. They are comfortable here. He likes being now close to his family. They're not going anywhere. And
he's got business interests here. He's got a house party reboot coming out.
So, there's a lot of stuff going on that is, why does he keep committing to Los Angeles? Because he likes Los Angeles and, he's comfortable enough with the franchise and he likes it. That said, he's also made it very clear he wants to play meaningful basketball games. And that, has at times been difficult to do here. And at least 2 weeks ago, looked like it was going to continue to be difficult. It's looking a little more optimistic now. And so when he is making noise about, leaving, about, trades, about this and that, or whatever, where you're wondering, I do think it's always important to remember the stuff that has kept him in LA and draws him to LA doesn't change. I don't think he really wants to go anywhere. So a couple things on that regard, Andy. We'll get to this interview that he did, a walk and talk with Sam Amick. Just means, you're as he's walking to the bus at the end of the game in Sacramento, he's talking to the Sam Amick of The Athletic. The other little bit of business was he clarified what it means when playing with Bronny. This got a little bit of attention at the beginning of the weekend and then got kind of overshadowed by some of the other stuff LeBron said. He said he wants to play with Bronny.
This was to Dave McMenamin at ESPN.
Right. Thank you. But it doesn't have to be on the same team. It can be on the same court. Bronny can be on another team. He just wants to be in the league and playing against Bronny when Bronny's here. That, Andy, is a very different proposition than what I think a lot of assumptions were made. Certainly it was sort of my basic assumption was When he says he wants to play with Bronny, he means he wants to play on the same team. This is a big, big difference. This is a major clarification because the Lakers getting Bronny is probably not a high likelihood thing. The Lakers being able to play Bronny's team, though, that feels a little more likely. So wherever he goes, either in a trade or staying in LA, he can get his wish. It's a big deal, this clarification.
Yeah, and we can talk. I'm not even so much sure it's a clarification as it is an adjustment or a shift,
a reframing.
Yes. Reframing, recalculating his own stance. But anyway, what he told Dave was, quote, either in the same uniform or match up against him. I don't mean like guarding each other all game because he's a point guard. I'm at this point, I'm playing center or whatever the team needs from me. But I would love to do the whole Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. thing. That would be ideal for sure. Then went along to say, quote, I asked him what his aspirations are, and he says he wants to play in the NBA. So if he wants to do it, he's got to put in the work. I'm already here, so I'm just waiting on him. So again, like you said, and I actually think this is much more LeBron expanding the parameters as opposed to clarifying what we all wrongly assumed, because LeBron had framed this multiple times as him and Bronny on the same team.
Right. That's the Ken Griffey Sr., Ken Griffey Jr. thing.
Right, but I don't think this was all of us collectively misunderstanding LeBron, because he's brought this up multiple times. And if it had been wrongly assumed the first time, he's had plenty of opportunity to say, hey, guys, just so people understand, I don't mean literally on the same team, because that would be very complicated to make happen. I just mean I want to play in the league with or against my son. I want to be playing professional basketball while he's doing it. I think he has widened the goalposts.
Much, much wider.
Yes.
Like arena football goalposts, regular goalposts.
Mm-hmm.
And
widen the lane if you want to make it the right sport. This
is important because let's say the Lakers were to trade him this offseason. LeBron, they would do it. Good idea, bad idea. They're almost surely only going to do it if LeBron asks them to. That makes it much easier to trade him, because the team that is getting him knows that player option that he's got is far more likely to be exercised. If they don't have to figure out a way to get Bronny James on their team that season. So that is a good deal for LeBron if he wants the flexibility to be traded. It's a good thing for the Lakers if they want to trade him. They can get much more value back for him, assuming he keeps playing like this and stays healthy. But it's also good for the Lakers if LeBron wants to stay, because they at least have some clarity about, do we have to figure out a way to get Bronny on this team? Like, no, you don't necessarily need to do that. It's a big deal all the way around.
Well, forget just the idea of, do we have to get Bronny on this team? Because that might be a few years from now anyway. This is also theoretically LeBron telling the Lakers, look, if you move these picks and whatever draft capital we have, whatever assets we have moving forward, it's not going to be definitively for a 1 or 2 year window, because I'm obviously going to be joining my son, and there's only a 1 in 30 chance of you making it happen here. Like, this is as much, I think, messaging to the Lakers with staying as it is to the rest of the league. All it really does is just let the entire NBA know you don't have to rearrange all of your plans to try to pull off the impossible to get me and my son on the exact same team.
What you're saying there, Andy, gets to my basic premise, my basic, hypothesis, whatever the right word is here. You're good. I've been struggling with my words. LeBron wants two things at the same time. He wants to play competitive basketball. He wants to be playing in the playoffs, meaningful games, playing meaningful games down the stretch, all that stuff. He has zero interest in leaving LA. And so what he's trying to do is everything he possibly can to make it so he can have both of the things that he wants. because he doesn't want to have to choose between those two things. And if the Lakers, I don't think they're kind of like, title contender type things, but like if the Lakers can be a credible second round team that has a chance to go to the conference finals, and from there, who knows? I think that'll do. Like he doesn't want to be on a team that's 15 games under 500 at the All-Star break. And that I think is strong signaling from like the Bronny comments. And we'll actually just go ahead and do a reading of this walk and talk afterwards. He is definitely making it clear that he thinks this group is worth helping. So we'll do that next.
Or that he is, if nothing else.
In a lot of ways, he is the group.
Right. I mean, because by definition, if you get him that help, it means some of the group will be exiting. But we'll talk about that next. Locked On Lakers brought to you by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories, you got to try Built Bar. We all just got through the holidays. I know I could stand to eat a little healthier after the damage I did. Went to a party on Saturday. That did not help. And I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat. And you don't want to compromise taste, though, along the way. You want to have your cake and eat it, too. Why don't you have a Built Bar and eat it, too? Because with Built, healthy is actually tasty. It's perfect for your New Year's resolution. And as always, they come in 100% real chocolate, great flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond. They taste like candy bars, but just 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar with 17 grams of protein. The protein's what you want. You don't even have to wait around for a box anymore. For years, we've told you about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com, and that still works, but now you can get them at your local Walmart in the pharmacy section, no prescription required, or at a Sam's Club. Drop by either spot, pick up a box of different flavors, just a whole assortment. You will love them. Built Bars, enjoy.
Okay, so Sam Amick, who is both a friend of ours and a phenomenal reporter. He is a long-time, excellent, careful, by the book, not a bomb thrower, not a sensationalist, takes the work very seriously. So he has a walk and talk with LeBron James, which just means as they're leaving, he is walking with LeBron to the bus for the Lakers. Something very common, especially for national guys like Sam, to do with a player like LeBron. To Sam's credit, actually, he published the entire conversation. He didn't pull a quote. He did, and for this reason, he says it in the story, to add as much clarity and context as possible. He published the whole thing. LeBron, and we'll just do this first, get this out of the way. So Sam tweets to promote the story. LeBron James to The Athletic on the Lakers roster plans. You know what the bleep should be happening. More here on his waning patience, how his greatness is forcing this conversation, and why he deserves more help. LeBron quote tweets, "Hey Sam, actually my patience isn't waning. You make it sound like I'm frustrated when I'm really not. I told you over and over my job is focused on the guys in the locker room. My job isn't the roster. That's the reality of the conversation. And I said what I said with the utmost respect and calmness because that's the mood I'm in. You're welcome. 5-game win streak." Okay. I only do that because I actually do think it's worth just reading this thing. And people can just take the words and see what they say. And I don't want anybody saying like, well, LeBron said X, Y, and Z. So that's what LeBron's response was. Do you want to be Sam or do you want to be LeBron?
I'll play LeBron.
Okay. That makes me Sam.
Yes.
All right. So this was the conversation, the full transcript of the walk and talk as they go. It's pretty quick. To see you and the team playing well, especially with AD out, has me wondering what the conversations with Rob and Jeannie are like in terms of the roster. What's the nature of your message? What is that communication like?
Man, listen, I play the game. I worry about who's in the locker room. It's not my job. I can't do nobody else's job.
But LeBron, you're 38 and you're doing things that have never been done.
I know that.
And the idea that a team would hold on to some picks and wait for next year.
Well, if you guys know, then you guys know. You guys know. I don't need to talk about it. You guys know.
But if you stay quiet, then time is going to keep marching on, no?
Listen, you guys know it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science.
But is that conversation with ownership and management evolving?
I'm working. I don't have time. I'm playing every day, 3 out of 4 nights. I don't have time to beat.
Right, but we've got cell phones. We can call people.
Listen, I'm doing my job. That's all I can do.
But how's your patience level? Is that aspect of the situation tugging at you?
They're doing what they think is best for the franchise.
How do you feel about that?
I'm doing what's best for the guys in my locker room. That's all I can worry about. I'll let y'all.
And then he sort of walks away, and then he says,
y'all know what the F should be happening. I don't need to talk.
And scene.
Now, what's interesting about that to me, Brian, is
it was very
first of all,
inside the actor's studio. I liked it.
Yeah. There's some real passive aggressiveness going on, which is something LeBron has made an entire career out of. And it was interesting because obviously this piece from Sam, understandably, predictably, got a lot of reaction. And I heard a lot of people saying, wow, LeBron's, he just went there. He just said the thing. And my reaction was, no, he didn't. He hinted at it, and he put it out there purposely, what he wants you to know. And so it's clear. I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at LeBron for doing that. I mean, he has been making this stance increasingly clear, and he's entitled to feel this way. But he actually went out of his way to not say the thing while he actually said the thing. Because even his original comments to Sam, they're presented through the prism of, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to make sure to create a situation where you say it.
Because right. That's his premise. It is so blindingly, screamingly obvious what ought to be happening here that I don't need to verbalize it myself.
Well,
that
also
is
because
the foundation of what he's saying.
Here's the thing. If he wanted to make it clear, no, I'm good with this roster. We're competing right now. We're on a winning streak. I think we're actually doing okay. We just need AD back. He could have just said that. He could have just because remember in 2008, before Andrew Bynum got hurt, and this was on the heels of Kobe's summer of trade demands and the radio tour saying he wanted to play on Pluto, saying ship Andrew Bynum's ass out to New Jersey for Jason Kidd, like that whole thing. Even before the Lakers traded for Pau Gasol, that team was surprisingly great. They were in first place in the West before Bynum ended up getting hurt. And there was a point where I believe it was John Ireland was doing an interview with Kobe after a game, and he asked Kobe like where he thought the team stood right now, if they needed changes or, like that he had demanded loudly multiple times for. And Kobe said, no, this team can compete right now. So if LeBron felt that way, he could have said like, you know what, the more I see of this team, the more I like what we have here. Like, well,
I think what he's
saying,
doesn't
have to. I'm just
right.
saying.
Is what I read it as. Look at what we can do now. Look at what we've been able to do. And what is it? I think it's 17-11 now since the 2-10 start. I mentioned they are not just basically back into the play-in race, and they basically are statistically tied for 10th in the conference. I mean, technically speaking, Portland is a half game ahead of them, but they are a half game behind Portland for 10th. Portland, Phoenix, and Minnesota are all tied. The Warriors are a half game in front of them. They're basically every team in the Western Conference is basically has between 20 wins and 18 wins and like 20 losses and 18 losses. So what I think he's saying is like, look at what we've been able to do. No AD. I've been in and out of the lineup. Other guys have been hurt. It doesn't take much. And I think that if that becomes the reality for the Lakers, then it really does fundamentally, because so much of the conversation has been, gosh, they need so much to be genuinely competitive, with, have a chance to get out of a first round series or even get into a first round series. If all they need is a little bit more of a nudge, if Alec Burks, literally or figuratively, is the kind of guy that could be enough of a change in the rotation, sort guys out, add good minutes here, subtract bad minutes there to make a meaningful difference, that's much different than you have to figure out a way to trade those two picks, and Westbrook and something for whatever you can find out there. Because we've talked about it, Andy. I don't think there is a Russell Westbrook trade. available. And the Lakers have made it pretty clear they're not interested in trading Westbrook, in part because they like how he's playing. And certainly on Saturday, he played a very good game.
I mean, we've seen multiple people more plugged in than you or me saying that right now it is an extreme seller's market. Mm-hmm. And the reasons are obvious. You look at both conferences, there's only a handful of teams that clearly would be in seller mode. You know, a team like the Wizards or the Raptors, the Bulls, you know, give them some time. Maybe they ultimately decide that it's time to, you know, start selling off, go in a different direction. But for the time being, they're all in a position of looking to be competitive. And that's the majority of the entire NBA, much less the West, which other than, you know, Houston, I think Utah will eventually get there. I think, you know, San Antonio likely is. There's not a lot out there that's clear, you know, in terms of right now.
Right.
There's not a lot of teams that are clearly, obviously going to be looking to sell, much less that would be interested in what the Lakers have. And they're going to be really careful knowing that they can bump up these prices because 3/4 of the league is going to be just bidding against each other. And only one team gets the asset. Only one team gets the trade package.
And even a team like Utah, like if they might be sellers at the deadline, but I don't think it's going to be like the kind of thing where they're just tearing everything down, like people assumed that it would at the beginning. And some of their most appealing pieces, like there's no reason for them to trade like Lauri Markkanen. Like, you know, that's not something they need to do. They're too far away to tank for Wembanyama or Scoop Henderson. And so it really, you know, in Indiana,
same thing with the Pacers right now. You know,
the Pacers are 23-18. They won 8 of 10. They're not trading their best players.
Well, but even if they do, let's say they do trade Miles Turner because they realize there have been reportedly extension talks going on with him, and let's say they can't work that out, they may trade Miles Turner because they realize it's better to know we can get something for him than him walking. But that doesn't mean that they're going to trade him for a player that they don't want just to get him off their books, like some type of expiring whatever. If they're competitive, they're going to want a player that helps keep them competitive. So that changes the calculus.
Yeah. So it is the Lakers with this 5-game win streak. And I like I said at the top of the show, I did not think they were capable of winning 5 games in a row with this group and without Anthony Davis. I just didn't think the consistency would be there. I do think they're getting. This sort of feels top end in a lot of ways for what they're doing, and that's fine. It's really impressive. It has, between that and the sort of the tightening, the simultaneous slumping of other teams in the West. That includes the Clippers. It includes the Suns for sure, who are in a major tailspin, and Utah, like you mentioned, all these teams that we talked about before. It changes the conversation in ways, and we can talk about this through the week as we get to the end of the show now. It makes Rob Pelinka's job easier in the sense that, like, you don't have to look for a home run miracle trade which is easy to walk away from. But it also makes it harder because now people look at it and go, well, you don't have to do that much. And so the onus might be on him to do something. And what that something is in that seller's market is going to be hard to say. But Andy, you would agree, LeBron would like them to make a trade. He's not just, as he tweeted out, casually out there doing his job. He's making a point. The screws are being turned a little bit on the front office because the team is playing better than, quite frankly, I think they thought they were going to. Clippers look like they're going to lose, by the way. Just vamping until we get a little result. So Locked On Lakers on YouTube. It's where you go to see the show, to engage in that community and help push us to 10,000 subscribers. Big game on Monday night, man. If the Lakers can somehow go in and beat Denver without AD, no Austin Reeves, no Lonnie Walker, you're really, really cooking now. So that is another game to steal. So we'll see what happens. We'll see everybody after Monday.